Welcome to our channel once again. This is Primetime Analysis. Now, the news that broke today is that the Registrar of Societies has deregistered 5 churches across the country. And these churches include the New Life Prayer Center of Pastor Ezekiel Odero, the Good News International Church that is linked to Pastor Mackenzie. We also have the Helicopter Church of Christ, which is linked to Thomas Wahome, and 2 other churches have also been deregistered. Of interest to me among these churches is that of Pastor Ezekiel and that of Pastor Mackenzie. I understand that Pastor Mackenzie has been linked to the Shakahola massacre, and he is still in the docks for this, and we cannot discuss much out of what is going on in that. But when it comes to that of Pastor Ezekiel Odero, it is quite worrying and astonishing that the government could take this step without having clear legal grounds to pin Pastor Ezekiel down. Because we know that, first of all, Pastor Ezekiel was accused of being part of the team that was taking bodies and burying them at Shakahola. But as things went by, nothing was proven. It was also alleged that there were issues of money laundering and some tax evasion issues. He went to court and there was nothing found on him. Now it is emerging that his church had been deregistered back in May 19th. This begs the question, why would this information only be released right now? Because I remember back then, there was that time when the church was ordered to be closed. Pastor Ezekiel went to court and that closure was removed and he was allowed to run that church again. Now the question here is, why do you think the government is hell-bent to have church associated with Pastor Ezekiel closed? I am of the opinion that what we are seeing is far much beyond regulating churches and the thing that occurred at Shakahola. Specifically, if you look at it, you will realize that there is a task force that is still walking around. There is that task force by Senate that is working in Kilifi area and doing its investigation. The investigations have not been completed. We also have the presidential working party that was addressing issues related to church regulation and everything, that Ole Sapet and other members are members. There has never been clear instructions or recommendations coming from these bodies. Now, in this analysis, I want us to examine reasons why the government is seriously hell-bent to ensure that New Life Prayer Center is closed down totally and it does not operate forever. Before we do this, please, if you're watching us for the first time, take a second or two to subscribe to this channel, and also at the end of the video, you can also give us a thumbs up. And for those who have already subscribed and are supporting us, we thank you so much for the growth that you've shown us and you've given us in this channel. We just started the other day, and the support you've given us is so much overwhelming that we cannot have enough space to thank each and every one of you for the great knowledge and support that you're giving us. So thank you, and may you continue supporting us in that way. Let's now get down to our main issues. The first reason why I think Kenya Kwanza government wants Pastor Ezekiel Odero's church closed is the huge following that this church has across the country. I remember the day that they held a crusade at Kasarani, Moi International Sports Center. Kasarani was full, stadium. The stadium was full and Kenyans came and many sat even to the grass as they wanted to be preached for and receive the blessings that they went to receive. This huge following rattled many politicians, especially those who think that Pastor Ezekiel can offend their political emotions. That meeting sent a strong message across the country that Pastor Ezekiel is somebody who is very influential, especially among people who are in the lower cadre of the society. We know that if you look at those who go to church, many of them, you realize that people who are strongly believers are those who are down there because they believe that their support and their strength only comes from the Almighty. Now, this huge following has led to Pastor Ezekiel being at loggerheads with the government. You know that the government cannot allow one person to have a huge following such that all that he does can, in one way or the other, affect the operations of the government. If you look at the images and the videos of those occurrences that happened at Kasarani Stadium, you will be shocked and you'd ask yourself, what kind of person is this? This huge following led to the government keeping a close watch on the activities and the steps that Pastor Ezekiel is having and doing. You know that politicians, in many aspects, do not like competition and they always want to control your discourse and the public discourse. In this case, they have realized that Pastor Ezekiel is getting seriously popular in this country. And if he is not tamed, he will have sway over very many people. Remember this, that Kenya Kwanza government campaigned in churches. And if they campaigned in churches, having any church that is not allied to the M-Pesa bishops that they were going to, they know that these people will speak truth to power, and many people have that opportunity to listen and heed what they say. And therefore, having gone through the church and made it a political campaign tool, they know that if they have another strong and popular church grow on the sidelines, their agenda with the church may be thwarted. And therefore, this huge popularity is one of the reasons why they have said Pastor Ezekiel and his team must stop what they are doing. The second reason why I think Pastor Ezekiel is being followed by the government is that he has never been shy to speak candidly and frankly about political activities happening in the country. At one point in this analysis, in my videos, I did an analysis of a prophecy that Pastor Ezekiel gave before elections, and it came to fruition. I know I got into trouble with that video and I had to bring it down because of the forces that pushed me down. But the prophecies that he has been speaking about have come true. Listen to this.
Nyang'au wanakuja. I promise you, niko hapa nchi hii. A government is coming. Miezi 6 musikie ile scandal inakuja. Kaeni tu na ni pesa yenu. Na wale ambao wataweka hiyo government in place ni nyinyi.
Now, these prophecies have, in one way or the other, looked like they are against the current regime. And this has led to the government watching its steps closely. Pastor Ezekiel has been open about what he thinks, and he has always warned Kenyans against over-depending on the government and understanding the role of government in their lives. I believe that this is also another reason why he has been forced to close down this church. I do not know why a government would go that far to have that church closed, because if you are somebody who has just been watching it, because I can confirm to you that at some point I followed their services, and at no point did I find any teaching that is against what the Bible says. Neither did I find any teaching that is so weird that can make someone think that this person is telling people to fast, to die, such kind of things. There has never been such kind of a thing among them. And therefore, if you ask me, I believe that the kind of stinging prophecies that Pastor Ezekiel has been hitting this regime with have led to him being considered a person of interest, and therefore he has been forced to close that church. The third reason is that we know that Kenya is highly political, and everything and anything is always politicized. Pastor Ezekiel, in his management of the church, he has always made it clear that the pulpit that he has will never be a platform for politicians to come and campaign in. At no point has any politician gone to that church and spoken in front of huge number of people. I want to ask you one thing. You've looked at how President William Ruto is leading his regime. One thing you will notice that in most Sundays, he has always been going for interdenominational prayers. And this seems to be a government that is hell-bent to have church drive its agenda. With the kind of following that Pastor Ezekiel has, do you think the government has not tried to find its foot be in that church, or even in one of the days that it could be in the coastal region? Do you think he has never wanted to go and pray in that church? Because one thing with politicians is that where they find a crowd, they always find that as a platform to spew their political rhetoric. And I believe the stance that Pastor Ezekiel has had, that no politician is allowed to go and do politics in that pulpit, has made the government find him someone of interest. If it were somebody that allows churches to come, politicians to come, speak in the podium and do whatever they want to do, he would not be in serious issues. I believe also that this could also be a ploy where competing churches, either in coastal region and also across the country, have found it necessary to get at Pastor Ezekiel and attack him in using the government. You know that most of these M-Pesa bishops are connected with this government, and their connections, they can influence anything. The fourth reason why I think Pastor Ezekiel is a targeted person, we remember that during the drought that hit this country sometime late last year, people were dying in areas like Turkana, Northeastern. But one thing that Pastor Ezekiel and his church did was to go and do prayer sessions in those areas and distribute food and supplies for those people there. This made many Kenyans side with him and know that he is somebody who is out to help the needy. You would also note that in Kilifi County alone, he has sponsored many students and is paying millions of fee for those students. This is something that the government and the politicians in the region would not think or would not want to continue. Now, the level of philanthropy that Pastor Ezekiel did could, in one way or the other, anger many politicians. We know that our politicians are having deficiency of ideas because they live and they thrive in lack and in poverty. When they know that you do not have a way of helping yourself, they capitalize on that to ensure that they bring you something small so that you can do good to them by voting them back into their different political seats. And therefore, I think this is also something that has gotten traction with the government and those politicians around that region. And therefore, they would want this church closed because it is competing against them. If you look at the level of development that this church alone has brought to Kilifi County, it is something unheard of. Not even a member of parliament can do such kind of a thing. This is something that is going to still remain a hot issue of discussion, and people will give their opinions differently. But I believe the other members who have had their churches deregistered, people like Mackenzie. Mackenzie left issues of church kitambo sana, and I don't think it is something that is serious. People like Helicopter and many others, I believe they are just collateral damage, but the main target the government wanted in this raid is Pastor Ezekiel, and they believe they have got him. What I have heard is that Pastor Ezekiel has gone to court to appeal that decision, and I believe the courts will be fair to him.